Howdy, you delicious people. I'm here today to cover more of my movie physical media. So, this time around, instead of going on and having a tower or a shelf of some kind of movies, I am to go on and now have these cases that are to have quite a bit of films here. So, with that said, like as if I'm like holding a accordion almost. So we're going on and we're going to make our way through these titles and hopefully go on and see how long these videos are, and then just kind of cover another sack that I have also here of movies as well. So we'll see where this goes, and hopefully we may go on and find that there might be some people interested in any number of these films that I am to go on and talk about here. We'll see. Or if anything, like we'll just go on and just be like, okay, you like movies, I like movies, cool, great. And that's all that it really has to be. So let's go into this. Let's open this bad boy up. I would have actually have liked to actually go on and have this to have set aside and then like kind of pull them out one by one. But like I was finding out when I was doing like the last video that I did where I was kind of pulling it from the tower thing, like I started to find that like my body just kind of resting there was just like consistently um like in a point where like it was kind of affecting me because I had just recovered from a hip and a back issue, and yeah, like just the amount of time of just kind of being like just kind of right here just kind of twisting and kind of like, yeah, it kind of started to really kind of bug me after a while. So yeah, like I was to just go on and be like, okay, this could be easier, so I'm like straightforward and it won't affect me as much. So I'm sure you guys all wanted to go on and wanted to just know that. Uh, oh well. So I'm just being brutally honest. So I apologize if you're not seeing all these here in front of you. Maybe I should kind of tilt this down just a little bit, maybe. But then again, you can't see my face. I'm on a frame a little bit. So anyways, so let's metaphorically crack these things open. So first off, we have The Fifth Wave. This movie was to go on to be interesting by the twist, where they're trying to figure out who the aliens are, and there are certain like kid soldiers that are going on and facing off against aliens, and then we find out who really the aliens are, and then we find out that there's some aliens that are good. So this movie was interesting enough. We have like Chloe's character that seems to in some projects be very successful. I think I had gone on to maybe review this movie and it went nowhere. But that's okay because eventually at the end of the day, I'll just talk about it briefly here. It's okay that like some of these projects like just kind of just like okay like they don't really go anywhere. It's fine. Like if anything, like I had gone on to also like do so many tags of all these movie physical medias, and out of all of the tags of all the things that I like connected with all the videos, I would find out that one whole movie out of everything one whole movie was to have gone on and been the one thing that came up on YouTube. So that tells me a lot. It's like hundreds of titles and one thing. Like, what is this? City Slickers? The one thing? Anyways, so this is to be the legacy collection of the Wolfman. Uh and so I would have probably have gone on and talked about this when I had gone on to probably review the other Wolfman movie, uh the Anthony Hopkins one. Yeah, this movie, I don't know. I just really liked the visual of the Wolfman, and then I would go on to have finally, after such a longevous amount of time, finally check out this film, and like I would come to find that it's like, man, like you just have repetitively all these people that are saying uh this poem or this quote over and over and over again, and to the point where like the main character Wolfman would just be like, man, does everybody know this poem? Like, did anybody not read the? Yeah, like, and eventually, like when the Wolfman just kind of meets up with the woman that he's gonna tie himself to in this film, I think that was very interesting to see the connection that was made there, and eventually kind of see where the movie slowly but surely eventually pays out. But like, yeah, it's a very, of course, slow piece in my opinion. But that's it's just me. So we have Upgrade. This movie honestly is kind of fun. We have a character that ends up getting into I believe an accident that renders him kind of paralyzed. Eventually, we have a person that comes to this guy and offers him an ability to get his body back, but he also has to be like discreet about it. He can't go on and just tell everybody that he had gotten his body back. So he has to still kind of pretend that he still is like kind of paralyzed. So eventually this character goes on and tries to hunt down the people that I think had killed his wife, because of how just depressed he is, how like he goes on and at one point in the movie he says like I want to go on and just shut this all off, meaning like his life, that he wants to turn the switch off, and because he's just that depressed and whatever. Uh, so yeah, so this character goes on and becomes like controlled by this AI, and eventually it takes over. So interesting enough piece. So Venom. I'm sure a lot of you have probably gone on to either hear about this movie, have gone on to see it, or had also gone on to see a plethora of the sequels. So what am I going to say here that you probably haven't heard or seen or tasted succulently any number of times in your life? So yeah, Venom was honestly really fun, but then eventually the other things were just like, okay, here's just this character, hey, here's that character, like without any care of why they were to actually be put into the story. And there was no writing. There's no, yeah, so but if anything, you'd have to go to my opinion specifically of those reviews, and but feasibly I would go on to just like, would you like to know more? So now we have a Jet Li Jason Statham film. So this is not the one. This is to go on and be War. I thought that this idea was kind of interesting enough to want to see what this movie was, because of course, I remember the movie The One, and then I think I had seen this movie somewhere on telly somewhere. So like I was like, okay, well, hey, like at some point also, when considering this is like an alphabet collection, like I started to realize, hey, I don't have a lot of movies that have the W in it. So I'm like, okay, what could be any W movie? And so I started to rattle off in my brain. I'm like, okay, well, I saw War, I saw this movie, I saw that. So yeah, so like the the just stupidity of me, folks. Like that's my honesty. And that's also like, okay, like maybe I can find some good films just based off of a letter. Anyways, so now we move on to When Harry Met Sally. So, man, does this one scene in this movie has so much staying power that even to this day they're going on in commercials and having Meg Ryan just writhe in a table, and Billy Crystal like, oh, we're doing this again? Oh, we're doing this? Oh, okay. So, to where Sweeney in the background's like, hey, I'll have what she's having. Yeah, like that whole scene is to be put in here. So, when actually watching this, I did really enjoy it. the early aspects of this film where it just becomes a road trip where the two of them are to go on and be in this car and they just get to know one another. And I'm like, where is this going? And like the further and further that they just keep talking because they have nothing better to do because road trip. But it's like, okay, so they have to meet. They have to go on and they have to end up with one another. And you're hoping by the end of the film that they're going to go that direction. And eventually by the end of the film there's that whole party thing. Yeah. So uh I think it was like a New Year's party or something. But anyways, uh I could really enjoy this film. And like I think I'd reviewed it. Like I think for the movie I probably said something like there's so much like nothing in this film, but like it's such intriguing nothing that like I was like, okay, I'm completely sold on this film. Like right out of the gate, when they started doing that whole dialogue between the two of them, I was like, all right, sold. It's kind of like You Got Mail, where Meg and Tom Hanks are just emailing back and forth, and Meg says like, "Well, yeah, all this is probably all just a lot of just nothing, but it meant something to me." So it's just like it's kind of like that. So I'm referencing a movie to talk about another film. So now we have Family Guys. It's a Trap, the basically Star Wars copy and paste movie. I say that, but then also there's like some unique comedy here. Of course, when they go into the dumpster part of the Star Wars movie, we have Peter's character who goes on and finds this couch and needs to like put into the Falcon, and they're trying to figure out how to get the couch back to the Falcon. It's kind of funny. Uh, yeah, like eventually we're remembering these films and how they all play out. Like there is the one scene where Stewie is going on and talking to Chris, and there's a little bit like a behind the scenes here of who these characters actually are. And Stewie all of a sudden starts talking about Robot Chicken and just goes on and on and on about Robot Chicken and how he hates it and starts to bash it. And then back and forth they go in this banter to where it's like there's something real here that they're just throwing out there. And I found it to just be like, man, like this is funny, and it's also just like, okay, like we realize that this is just a throwaway movie, but it's fun anyways. So because obviously they were saying to themselves that like everything that they were kind of doing there is kind of a throwaway, because they had nothing better to do. Plus, they were all just Star Wars fans, anyways. So this is to be Will Ferrell's Talladega Nights: The Ballad of Ricky Bobby, the unrated and uncut edition, experience in high definition. It says on the very bottom there. Yeah, if you are to go on and experience this movie, it has to be in high def. If you aren't experiencing in high def, then you're just not experiencing this movie at all. You might as well just like not watch this movie whatsoever unless you're watching in high definition. I went a long way there just for a joke that didn't probably pay out, and you probably thought I was serious, but I wasn't at all. So, in all honesty, there is probably like little slivers here and there that I remember of this film. Uh, but like we have at one point where Will Ferrell is like, "Save me, Tom Cruise," and he's like running around and he's like naked and he thought he was on fire and he wasn't on fire. Da 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 da. Yeah. So I think there's at one point where they talk about Walker Texas Ranger in the movie. Yeah. Um, honestly, to me, uh, I want to check out movies like this just to understand NASCAR more, just to understand the intrigue of it. Um, and also, I'd go on to watch like Sylvester Stallone's movie Driven. I would see uh, the Thunder Road or whatever that Tom Cruise movie was with Nicole Kidman and Michael Rooker. Uh, or whatever the movie is. It has thunder in it. I have no idea. You can correct me in the comments below. Hopefully you do so that way I have to go on and be like, okay, yeah, I've. Anyways, uh, so yeah, so with a movie like this, like it's just another like okay, like this is gonna be another fun movie, another comedy piece. So okay, like just drop your brain off to the side and just have a good laugh. When he goes on and he stabs himself with the fork, that's pretty funny. So anyways, this is gonna be now a 4 movie midnight marathon pack, and it says aliens on it. So I'm gonna go on and legit like there's the movies on the very back here. So if you're just seeing me just like The Thing, John Carpenter. They live with Roddy like because I'm reading from the back here. Keith David, a delicious man he is. Uh Village of the Damned. This is to be the remade one. I had gone on to review that piece. This is to be, and then lastly we have Virus. I was kind of interested in Virus if like that would go on and probably be a thing that people were interested in eventually me reviewing. But I think at one point I did go on and I did review the goofy film called Ghost Ship that probably went nowhere. I don't know. It's been so long since me reviewing that film. But I think Virus is on there, and I don't think anybody is to really be intrigued with that Virus film. But if I'm wrong, then let me know in the comments below. Like thickly and strongly, just like plead your case, and maybe I will go on and I will say objection, or maybe I'll say some kind of goofy other law terms, or I probably won't even remember me saying any of this because I won't. Because my life quickly becomes a blur. So now we go on into a movie that has a certain Hemsworth guy called Thor. You might have heard of it. It seems that a lot of women have heard of it because, god dang, like everybody was just like, "Oh man!" As soon as they saw Chris Hemsworth as Thor, they're like, "Oh my!" Like he basically became like the new Fabio to a lot of women. Like it like sexually awakened them uh to see a man with like long blonde hair, and like he basically is to be portraying all of their romantic novels, and he's a big beefy guy that is to kind of be this barbarian-ish like character. So yeah, anyways. So uh like it was interesting to see how Thor was to have gone on and been banished from Asgard and need to kind of work his way to get back there. And yeah, like it's Thor. It's Thor, everybody. So now we're gonna go on to, of course, a good chunk of the Thor sequels. Probably not all of them, because I don't think I have the fourth one or whatever the one is with Christian Bale. We have Thor: The Dark World. So I'm gonna say here that I'll be brutally honest. Uh, I don't want to do this, but I'm sure that this is gonna end up on the thumbnail. I don't know why this movie took off the way it did, but for some reason, just people like hearing about Thor: The Dark World, and I don't know why. But yeah, believe me, this is gonna end up probably being the tag. It's gonna be the thumbnail. It's gonna be everything. Like, I should probably go on and dress up as Thor and have this movie. Just like, how many times could I just thrust it into the air? Like, I just don't care. Just like, hey, yeah, this movie was somehow a thing that was just popular on the channel. I just like, I'm like, okay, like, I liked the Dark Elves. The Dark Elves were cool. The adventure we go with these movies just got really rather interesting. Like eventually we get into the Ragnarok, which is like this space adventure that I find to be interesting. But this time around, they end up going into the whole like uh convergence thing where all of the different realms were converting at this one specific time, and like we would just find these wacky things where like these characters just going through these portals and they would just end up all these random locations. So like, don't get me wrong, Dark World has its fun. Like you can go on and get my opinion on Dark World because eventually I'm sure no one has probably checked out that video in a while, so you can get my thoughts on that film because that video still exists. And I hope it still will. Always exist. Forever, because sure, why not? And thank you everybody for going on and checking that video out, and maybe you subscribed uh because of that video. I'd like to think also that you probably chose other projects to have come from, but maybe you came from Dark World. I don't know. Like, I'm not gonna judge you. Like, I'm not gonna judge a good looking person by their cover. Thor Ragnarok. So this is the movie where Hemsworth cut his hair, and I honestly thought that was cool. Because in the comic book we have a Thor with shorter hair, so I'm like, okay, they're trying to be like the books. Uh, so much about this was just like, this was to be just, the space adventure thing was a lot of fun. Having Hulk and Thor in this movie was like, yeah, this is incredible. Uh, really, Hela being in this movie was just like, wow. It was like wow. It was like wow. So, and also realizing that Odin was going to get killed in this movie. Spoilers. Ragnarok has been out for a number of years now. Yeah, that movie was like wow to me. It's like, I'm so stupid. Uh, the Time Machine. I want to say that this thing was successful on this channel. Maybe, maybe not. There was also to be the other Time Machine movie show, something that eventually also kind of got in my radar. And eventually I was going to review that, but it just never happened. It just slipped through my fingers. I had other things to do. Um, but this Time Machine movie is actually pretty interesting. How he bounces around through time, and how he goes back in time to save the woman he loves, just to find out that every time he tries to save her, she just dies anyways. So, because she technically has to die, or otherwise, like, the main character does not go on and invent this time machine. He clearly doesn't. Because they go on and they say in the movie, like, well, hey, if he had gone on to save that woman and had them children's, like, there'd be no way that this guy would make this time machine. He just would never have time for it. He would put it as a blueprint in uh his place somewhere, and he would never get to it. So I kind of like that, how like you can change time, but then again, there is some stuff that you just can't change. Like there's certain like big events that you just can't change. Plus also like you can't create a perfect world. Like a perfect world does not exist. Um but maybe some people are to think otherwise. Maybe there's some video game to world of theirs that they just absolutely love and they call it a perfect world. I don't know. Book by cover. Anyways, Tommy Boy. So my cousin, uh, my cousin is to have supposedly just had supposedly a connection to this film, from every time, uh, that my family would make my way to my uncle's house and see Josh. Eventually, they would just kind of bring this up about this whole connection with my cousin just liking this movie. So as a kid, uh, don't know where that's at with him now, but if anything, yeah. But regardless of that, just anecdote that I had to put in here, Tommy Boy is freaking hilarious. Uh, there is obviously the scene where Tommy Boy ends up getting hit, and he's like, you know what, like, I had this really weird mark on my face. It's like right here. Like, do I have anything? And David Spade looks at him and was like, no, you're fine. And then eventually, there's someone else that looks at Tommy Boy. It's like, hey, what happened to your face? He's like, oh my god, I told you. It's like, yeah. So this movie is great. I don't know if I ever got on and I reviewed it, but this should be a movie that I eventually should go on and cover if it hasn't been. Uh, Black Sheep, I just don't think is as funny as this movie. Uh, yeah, I'm trying to rattle my brain if I had covered these. Uh, yeah, like just a lot of time gets lost to me. Plus, also like if you have never seen the Tommy Boy movie, what are you doing with your life? It's that good. I know the whole brake pads thing, that's a goofy idea, but like if you haven't seen Tommy Boy, you haven't lived. You haven't lived until you've really seen that film. Cause yeah, just one movie is gonna change your life. So we have a movie called Torque. So this is a bike racing film. There are times when I question why I have this in my collection, but also like there are some interesting enough characters in this movie that validate it. Uh, how we go on it, we had that whole confusion where one biker goes on and kills one person and then blames uh like the main character's crew, and then it becomes this like, okay, these guys are like protecting themselves from being falsely accused. It's like the movie Warriors, or yeah, it's the Warriors come out and play. Yeah. Like it's kind of similar to that kind of case. Like and the movie is actually pretty decent, but it was just like, but I always kind of question, it's like, seriously, why do I have this kind of in my collection? If surprisingly that movie is to be the one that hits it for everybody, I would be happy to review it. Like I would probably go on and I would probably thumbs up that movie. Like, but again, I just don't understand why I have it in my collection. So we have Transformers Dark of the Moon. Not Dark Backside of the Moon. I wish that could have been a thing. But if anything, yes, a Transformers film is to be in my collection. So, and it's not the first. It's not the first. Well, there is other ones here, so we'll figure that out. Yeah, there is Transformers here, I think. So we'll get to that. So maybe I got these in a little bit of reverse. My apologies. Because I'm sure this isn't a kind of goofy order of things. So Transformers Dark Side of the Moon. So really, I would say after the first Shia LaBeouf, Transformers movie, it kind of got sold on all the others, even though eventually they would just kind of go off in these just kind of like different stories, and you're like, what the heck is going on? Like this isn't like kind of that doesn't exactly connect with the first movie, and it's now doing all this weird stuff. Yeah. And also like Bumblebee, could his voice work? Could his voice not work? Make some sense out of that. And then Bumblebee's in the background. And then they also had the Bumblebee movie, which why? Why all the Transformer movies? Why are they gonna go on and combine Transformers with GI Joe? Are they still doing that? Was that just some goofy thing? Like, were they going to do a GI Joe movie again? Uh, Transformers: Revenge of the Fallen. So you gotta say in some of these movies though that they did have some good music. Linkin Park, I think was to I think probably be in this one, lending a song for for this movie. So you gotta at least say that there is some like in the first Transformers movie, where Shia LaBeouf is chasing after Megan Fox, and it's the old baby come back, you can blame it on me. I'm like, oh man, this song's good. Uh, just some throwback music. I don't care. Like, yeah, it's good music. It's some good music. Transformers. So yeah, this is in reverse order. So if we probably have any other franchise things going on in here, it's gonna be in reverse order. So my apologies. But if anyways, it doesn't matter because you'll just see all this stuff eventually. So Transformers. So this is the Shia LaBeouf thing about the cube. Get to the building, Sam. Get to the building. Yeah. How many times you had to say that in that film? Is this the Allspark? Because yeah, yeah. Like there's so many of these things where it's like you got to put the thing in the Transformer's chest to do this special thing, uh, whether it's to kill Optimus Prime or bring him back to life, like whatever they were doing in these films. But either way, it was supposed to be like fascinating, and they had Transformers in the Hoover Dam. Like, what was going on there? Like, they had that moment where I felt like they recreated the Men in Black scene where they were talking about how all the alien technology had gone on to have them figure out how to do discs and stuff like that. Anyways, so we have maximum movie experience here. We have a double feature, a 2 DVD set, Transformers and Transformers 2. So, in all honesty, and I'm going to go on and when I talk about this movie soon, because I will need to go on and do it. Mission Impossible 2, because for some reason that came on my radar. Eventually I'll review that, so hopefully you guys will enjoy that review when I decide to do it. If I decide to do it, I don't know. Like we'll cross that bridge when we get there. So, but if anything, like when I look at Mission Impossible 2, because I've already kind of clipped through it to get the thumbnails and stuff. Like I would look at that movie, I'm like, it's basically like Transporter 2. So I really liked the first Transporter, and then like really all the other things came after that. And the ideas of the movies just got really goofier and goofier. How they had to do all these like tricks to like, hey, we have to get this bomb off this car, so we have to do this crazy flip to get this bomb off the yeah. Like, and eventually, even Robot Chicken at some point goes on and clearly just makes fun of the fact that they have to do that in all the other Transformer movies, these like goofy things. But if anything, also, speaking of more goofy, Transformers 3. Or Transporters 3. Transporter 3? So, here's the thing. Why didn't they just go on and just, like, yeah, call this movie Transporter, but then how about just call the sequel Transporters, and but then eventually once they would have more and more sequels, like what could you go on and then call it after that? Like, plus also it's surprising that you have an E here and the E is not a 3. Like because that's what everyone else was doing for a long time, where they'd have these sequels where it's like, oh yeah, like let's make the E a 3, or let's make the goofy lettering yeah, like they're doing a lot of that. So then we have the Transporter refueled. Yeah, like, because I had to just complete the set. So yeah, so this is to go on and basically be the remake. Because I had to check it out. Like, I had to see, like, if it was gonna be as good as the first one. I'm a sucker. Let's admit it. So, now we go on, and we have made our way into a 5-movie collection of Tremors anthology. So, we would have Tremors, Tremors 2, Tremors 3, Tremors 4, and 5. And each one of these had their individual names. We have Tremors 2, uh, Tremors 3, Back to Perfection, Tremors 4, The Legend Begins, and Tremors 5, Bloodlines. So what is number 2? Tremors 2 is to be Aftershocks. Yeah. That's when they brought back not the Kevin Bacon guy, but the other guy, and they brought him back. Yeah, and so here's all the discs, because let's show all these black discs. Yeah. How creative is this? But I guess it really doesn't matter, because they're just like, hey man, like, you came here for the movies, you didn't came here for creative. You didn't come here for creative packaging, so that's on me. So now we have Tristan and Isolde. This movie is romantic and awesome, and I love it. Two people that would bring down a kingdom is kind of the thing that starts this movie. Henry Cavill is in this film. Yeah, some early Henry Cavill here. We would go on to come to find that Tristan goes on and randomly finds Isolde, and the two of them really hit it off because he ends up getting hurt, and she finds him, and she nurses him back to health. Come to find out, this woman is going to get offered to the king, and therein lies the problem, because Tristan and Isolde are just so in love with one another that further and further they just kind of sneak around to try and continue to just still be in love with one another. And I love that about the story. Come to find out, when Isolde ends up with the king is actually a really nice guy. And like at first I think they were gonna go on and have the king be like this horrible person, but no, like the actor guy goes on and asks the people, hey man, I've played so many bad guys, like how about this time around, like how to be a nice guy, plus also like I think it'd be a lot more interesting if I were a nice guy. And it actually does work a lot better for him to be this nice guy. And so yeah, so Tristan and Isolde, if you have not seen this movie, it's really good. I enjoy it. A couple that brought down a kingdom. Now we have Tropic Thunder. A movie that I'm not quite sure is to be one of those films that is to probably not offend probably any number of people. Because we have a dude who's the size of a dude, this guy's another dude. Yeah. We have Tropic Thunder, and there is weirdly some people that are going on and kind of memeing Robert Downey Jr.'s character right now, and it's kind of weird. There is still memes that come out from Tropic Thunder, and I just don't know why. But if anything, like this movie does have some fun moments, like Tom Cruise in his huge fat suit kind of dancing around. It's kind of interesting for that character. The dialogue between both Matthew McConaughey and Ben Stiller about the whole TiVo thing was kind of funny. Like have they gotten you your TiVo yet? And Ben Stiller's like, no, like they still don't have my TiVo. So he's like, God dang it! Like, so it gets all frustrated and it's funny. So now we have Clint Eastwood's Trouble with the Curve. Baseball film. I think this has Justin Timberlake in it, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, it has Justin Timberlake in it. So, for the later kind of Clint Eastwood movies, like, yeah, at some point they were all home runs. Trouble with the Curve. But this one was just kind of entertaining enough. like we of course have like Gran Torinos and all these kind of really just wholesome kind of funny movies because Clint Eastwood has a really good uh way of doing comedy, and that kind of shows in so many of these projects. Uh, but anyways, like man, uh, to go on and to see Clint's just body of work, like going from like Play Misty to Me and Dirty Harry's and just all this stuff in between. Like it has really been um just like man, this guy has really gone on to do so many projects that he'll be known forever for. Tucker and Dale versus Evil. So for the longest time, I would go on to probably see this movie some freaking where, but I'm like, what the is this movie? So come to find out, this film is not only freaking hilarious, but then on top of that, we find out that this is a horror film that really flips things. So the bad guys in the movie are actually, or the stereotypical looking bad guys are actually good guys in the film, and the teens who are to end up getting killed by these guys most of the time by accident, they're to technically be the bad people. Like they're to be the people that just don't quite understand what's going on in the situation. So all these kids are accidentally killing them on their own selves, and we just have the redneck guys that are turning to their one girl that they captured and asked like, "Hey, are these people? Are they like? Are they dangerous? Like they really are going on and they're murdering themselves." And so the girl's like, "No, like." So yeah, like this movie, if you haven't seen it, like it is so much of an interesting twist on horror. And also it's freaking hilarious. It's funny. Um, it's so good. Surprisingly good. So now we have Turner and Hooch. So the most iconic line I think coming from this movie is "This is not your room." Weirdly enough, that's just the iconic line. So we have Tom Hanks's character that's very reluctant to, or Turner's character that ends going on and being very reluctant to get Hooch, and then when he does get Hooch, uh, eventually it's like, well, he's the only eyewitness to this case, and so eventually how this all plays out ends up getting really interesting when Tom Hanks eventually ends up with this veterinarian, and I think he like paints her house or something with her. Uh, and the further and further he's with her, he starts figuring out the case more, and so it was really interesting of a film. But then eventually later on, I think they did get like a descendant of Turner to be putting together a whole show. I'm like, really? Like, I can see how you can go on and do a movie, but not a show. Like, but I think I had gone on to see some episodes of it. And I was like, whatever. Like, just whatever you guys want to do. You guys just got money for IPs, so just spend that money. Just like it was interesting. The character who was Turner in that, like, I think they made a really good choice there. But just the project, I don't know. Two for the money. So this is a movie about placing bets on sports, and Matthew McConaughey's character getting so good at picking bets that eventually, the further and further we get in the film, he needs to be like 100% perfect, or like he is going to be like people coming after him to like break his knees and yeah. So and basically like like this guy gets further and further into like, hey, I need to be perfect, and then when he does, he then turns around and starts to realize that every single one of his guesses are horrible, that they just never go on and they never do well after the 100% of him winning or him picking the best possible outcomes. So there was a line here that I did like where Al Pacino turns to his like wife and talks about like, yeah, like all he does is pick winners and he lifts weights. That's all he does. And like the stuff that happens to Matthew McConaughey's character in this movie, where he ends up with that woman that they find out it's like, oh well, like she was just some woman that they like paid as a hooker for him, and so yeah, so a lot of the movie does get pretty interesting, but like it's not for everybody. So The Ugly Truth. So I review this movie like, I really like this idea. So we have this woman that is going on and having like a bajillion different things of her list that make for the perfect man, and Gerard Butler's character is just like, does this man even freaking exist? Like, there's no way that like all of these things on your list, there's a human being that it fits that criteria, and he's alive. So how eventually they kind of partner up together, and like Gerard's character helps Heigl's character, Heigl, into getting a man, but then it's to not really be herself, because the only person that she can be herself around is Gerard Butler's character, and yeah, so this movie was so interesting because it was kind of like it was kind of one of those movies where you really got on and you felt like you were learning something while watching this film, honestly. Because of course, like I think around that time they started to do these kind of like pickup artists like VH1 shows. They had started to get like, okay, hey, there's like a whole like kind of real breakdown of trying to figure out how to date or how to get people, or like how to really uh kind of break down the female psyche and all this other stuff, which I'm just like, you know what, like when it comes down to it, like aren't we all just people? Like aren't we all just like you go on and you really start to just simplify everything, to where it's just like, why does there have to be some puzzle or some math equation to figure out a person? Like how would I just go on and just talk to them for X number of minutes and just see where this effing goes? That's all it really has to be. Ultimate Avengers number 2. I'm sure the other one is to be right. Yeah. Let's whip out both of these bad boys. So Ultimate Avengers the movie and Ultimate Avengers number 2. So the very first one actually was pretty entertaining. Then they end up having the sequel, which they basically had it to be in Wakanda. There was still some interesting ideas in the sequel, but not as good as the original. So I'll say that these movies were to go on and be good enough, but also kind of reminded me of the Avengers live action movies that kind of came later. How in some ways they were to go on and feel kind of so familiar when we finally got to the live action Avengers movies, which I don't know if I ever got on and I talked about in any of those reviews, because I probably had completely forgotten about these movies. But yeah, these movies were very similar to those Avengers films, and a lot of people would probably say, no, 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 no. Like when you really think about it, yeah, like if you think about a Civil War, and you think about like the Avengers movie, yeah, it's pretty similar. Ultraviolet. So I had to fill out my U's, and so this was one of those where it had a U in it. So This is an interesting like vampire movie from memory. I am kind of tempted to see if this one is to have any value. So more likely it's going to be tagged, it's going to be thumbnail, it's going to be all kinds of things. Who knows? Uh, yeah. So this was an interesting, just kind of visual film, but not much besides that. So and plus also like this is right around the time that they were doing like the Eon Fluxes with uh Charlize Theron, and they just had these like really just wild swing of ideas that just had a certain actress in it, and that's all that needed to sell a whole entire film. It's just an actress that just was going through these like weird, goofy, just stories that were just like, okay, what is this? And we still probably don't know to this day. So next up, we have Unbreakable. So much about this movie was honestly just so interesting. So as we go on and we are to watch movies like Unbreakable, like I think this did start the pattern of like wanting to see more superhero movies that were to be more in a realistic setting, like Kick Ass and uh like probably God, what is the one movie? Um All Superheroes Must Die. That was to go on and feel like very realistic because all the superheroes kind of lost all their powers, so they were kind of stuck in this kind of like realistic like world. And so that was to go on and and be like the whole kind of like okay, once this guy is to finally like because Samuel Jackson was to hunt this guy down to find out that he wasn't unharmed, and then it's like okay, were you ever injured? Were you ever sick? And then like the further and further we go, it's like okay, is he ever gonna like con- convince um convince us that he is this superhero character? And the way it just plays out is just it's so fascinating. I really enjoy this piece. Split. So of course, if you guys had gone on to see eventually Glass, and then also to have seen this movie and Unbreakable, I liked the idea of this movie where we come to find that this guy has split personalities through a horrible amount of trauma. Let's admit that, but the thing that I found to be just fascinating about this is that supposedly there is to be how these personalities have these completely unique traits to only them. Like, one of the traits could go on and be that one of the personalities is like a power lifter, and like they could lift probably like hundreds of pounds, and maybe all the other alters or all the other personalities don't have that ability. And I'm like, wait a minute, like, so how does that make sense? Like, how is it that that is to be opened up like that, where it's just like, how is it that all of the like one of the personalities could have diabetes and all the other ones don't? Um, one smokes, all the others don't. Like, so why? Yeah, like that is to be so fascinating to me how that all breaks down. And like that was the one thing where I'm like, oh, well, I've learned something from this movie, because I didn't think I was going to. So this guy goes on and he steals all these girls, and we know where this is all heading, that they're probably gonna die. But we end up having this one girl who honestly is to really think things through and actually help the girls like, hey, like pee yourself so that way he doesn't do anything to you. And then the further and further we go along, we find that this girl is just outsmarting this this split personality person, this altered person. And I really wish that there could have been more of the explanation of this character, because I don't think we quite got exactly enough of it within these movies combined. Like, yeah, they say the trauma of the character, but like, yeah, there is never, I think, enough that we really got from the knowing of this character. But regardless, like, they basically made a superhero movie out of it, or a supervillain movie out of it, so, or a horror kind of film. So, but if anything, uh, Glass. The reveal by the end of Split is that, of course, uh, the guy from Unbreakable is to appear by the end of the film, and we're like, wait, what? Like, all these movies are connected? And then we would find out that it's all just a thing of the Unbreakable hero Bruce Willis going up against the Beast, who is to, of course, be the Split character, and then Samuel L. Jackson's character kind of getting caught in the middle, uh, kind of being the equivalent of like Lex Luthor in a way to, in the later Superman movies, whoever is to be like the the person, or the thing that Lex Luthor creates to go up against Superman. Like, it's kind of like, in all honesty, Glass is to be kind of a lot similar to like the later Superman movies, in my opinion. And Glass is actually a pretty good piece. Uh, yeah, like, I don't like the ending, but regardless. Unknown. So I think this is a movie where Liam Neeson goes on and is to forget who he is, and then he comes to find out that he was to be this agent guy, and there was to be somebody that kind of replaced him, and yeah, like, that's all I remember about this piece. Where eventually he has amnesia, and it's kind of basically like Bourne Identity with just Liam Neeson, but it was to go on and just kind of be a kind of a interesting piece there. Next, we have Underworld: Rise of the Lycans. So I really enjoyed these Lycan films, and it was interesting to get to this one, where like it was like the movie before Underworld that we finally got, and because Underworld sets a lot of this stuff up, where this movie finally shows all of it, of what really happened. So I was to go on and kind of finally like, okay, cool, like, we finally got this movie. Uh, to finally just kind of complete like all of what they did there. We then have Underworld Awakening. I would go on to just show this to you and be like, here you go. Like, I'm trying to figure out which one this is. So this may go on and be the one where they had like the very early werewolf and vampire things being brought back, and the underworld girl is to be the only one kind of standing in their way, and that's grasping at straws here at best. So let me know if I'm close in the comments below. Underworld Evolution. No, maybe, Maybe the one I just gone on to explain is actually this one. Um, because yeah, this is Underworld Evolution. So yeah, so this is to be like the early werewolf and vampire ones. Maybe this one is to actually go on. I have no idea. Like, is the Awakening one, is this the one where they go on and they take the hybrid one and they kill him or do something? Yeah, I have no idea. Uh, maybe they experiment on the Lycans in this one. That could be the case. Who cares after the first one, right? Who really cares after the first one? Like, let's admit that. Like, the first one was dope, and then everything that they tried after that was just like, okay, whatever. Like, whatever you want to do after that. So now, Underworld. So, classic film, a lot of really good action here. It's the one that I probably remember the most because I'd seen it a lot more times. Because eventually this would be randomly on the telly at some point. Because eventually, when I actually had cable, um, or when we as a family had cable, yeah, like we would just kind of see all these just channels that just had movies just playing on them all the time. Now, I don't think there would be really much of anything like that now because why is there a need of that? Like there's so many streaming things of all these things. Like why do they need now a specific channel just to show all these movies? Plus, also you have to pay for rights, and yeah, it's just easier to just slap it on a streaming thing and call it a day. Uh, oh, Underworld Blood Wars. Yeah. Uh, so this one made me go on, and yeah, god dang it. So which one is Awakening? I am so confused here. I am so out of sorts. So I probably have no idea what Awakening is. Uh, I also want to think that Blood Wars is also what I just said for Awakening. I have no idea which ones these are. Uh, I remember, I think, this being the very last one, I think. And. Wait, let me. Yeah, because it's the last one. It's the. I have two movies left. So yeah, so. This one, I think, is the last one, and. She has a child, and I think it's all about that. She has a daughter. Am I close? Yeah. Anyways, so last but way too longingly least, uh, we have Universal Soldier: The Return and Universal Soldier Regenerations. Why do I have these? And also, I don't have Universal Soldier. I cannot explain that why. But uh maybe I'd like to hope that I probably had watched it and I probably put it elsewhere, but if not, then feasibly I would just go on to say that maybe these were to be ones that were harder to find and that's probably why I got them. Whereas the original one was so much easier to find on streaming, so that's probably why I just got these. I at one point did get the one that came after this one, and then I threw it away because it was absolute garbage. Just oh my god, what was that film? Um, besides these, there was also to be like I think another film series that also came with the success of these that went on its like its own path. Uh and eventually when they went back into this film, I think they tried to recreate what they did in those other secondary films back into this one, and to just kind of just be like, hey man, we're running out of just things to do. So it was kind of so interesting, like where they went from this one to then Regeneration, because when Devereaux is in this movie, like he is at such a disconnect. Like every kind of bit of humanity of him had been like completely lost by this film, and just how he's back to like this like primal, like just wanting to just beat the out of these people. Uh, yeah, that was to go on and just be just an interesting like man, like they really just did some things here that were just so for these specific movies. Like okay, like I can like certain things about these movies, but also it's just kind of like okay, none of these movies really connect with one another. Like too much time is too supposedly passed, as well as also these characters aren't who they were when they were in other things. So because it feels like you can't connect them all. So it really just seemed like every single one of these movies where they were kept bringing them out were just huge more disconnects, and it was just kind of getting to the point where you can kind of pick and choose which Universal Soldier movie you could go on and enjoy and like and whatever. So, more than likely, a lot of people probably just only liked the first one because that's what really views tell me. Uh, but anyways, I think I'm just gonna leave this as just like an hour and change just thing here. Um, I apologize if definitely like uh with all these here, I'm sure people will probably feel uh probably shortchanged compared to all the other videos, but maybe they'll just like that this is only an hour. But either way, uh like maybe I was to just think like okay, like maybe I'll just do this past an hour. Plus also, I was maybe thinking about like well hey, like maybe I can do uh any number of other things. I can go on, I could just whip out this other thing and just say that, but it'll also take another hour. Like so, I'm trying to avoid to make these 2 hours of videos also. So huzzah for that, because it seems that uh people were to go on and enjoy these much more shorter videos. So I'm giving you that. So thank you. Well, some people could even go on and say like an hour, and yeah, and that's fine. Like however people are to go on and uh and not like how I do things. That's completely fine because I'm just gonna keep doing this. I'm just gonna keep just trying to do my best here and keep chipping away at these projects. So thank you for going on and watching a project like this. Thank you for watching these. Um, because hopefully I'll go on and I'll be able to just keep doing them. Yeah. So goodbye, everybody. Goodbye, everybody.